The bravest and most heroic souls are usually the most loving.
What's up, everybody? I'm Christopher Ash, host of the My First Amendment Right podcast, formerly known as Jackson Wheeler. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, there's so much we could talk about, right? It's almost like back in the World War II era when there was just too much news to follow, right? So, I'm sure it's probably more than 75% of the world that's connected to the internet has Facebook. And if you have Facebook, you might have been seeing on there a whole bunch of your friends telling you to go and Google and research Project 2025, right? Now, for those of you who didn't pay attention maybe during Trump's first term, a lot of what the mainstream media tended to tell us was a load of bullshit. Take what was it? Russiagate was the first thing, right? Now, listen to this. According to documents, this is for Russiagate. Remember the first thing that turned you against Trump, had you turning it against Trump? Hillary Clinton and her campaign played a significant role in the whole Russiagate drama. It all started when her campaign and the Democratic National Committee hired Fusion GPS, an opposition research firm, to dig up dirt on Donald Trump during the 2016 presidential race. Fusion GPS then hired Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence officer, to compile a dossier on Trump's alleged ties to Russia. We all remember that? The infamous Steele dossier contained unverified and salacious allegations about Trump, including claims that his campaign colluded with the Kremlin to win the election. The dossier was then leaked to the press, sparking a media frenzy and fueling speculation about Trump's supposed collusion with Russia. We all remember that, right? Pretty sure some of you all still think it was real. So the FBI launched an investigation into the matter. We remember this too, which eventually led to the appointment of special counsel Robert Mueller. We remember this, right? Watched it on TV. Now, Mueller's investigation, however, was unable to verify the claims made in the Steele dossier. In fact, the investigation concluded that there was no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Fast forward to 2021, and we have an indictment of Igor Donachenko, which was a key source for the Steele dossier, on charges of lying, of all things, to the FBI. This revelation further undermined the credibility of the dossier and raised questions about the role of the Clinton campaign in the whole Russiagate affair. Right? Not only that, but everybody right now posting about Project 2025 and directly attempting to link Project 2025 to Trump himself, right? So is Donald Trump behind Project 2025? In fact, no, he is not. Okay? Project 2025 is an initiative led by the Heritage Foundation. It's a conservative think tank and other affiliated organizations. The goal of the project is to prepare for a potential Republican administration in 2025 by developing a comprehensive policy agenda and creating a pool of conservative candidates to fill key positions in the federal government. Now, while Trump may align with some of the goals and policies outlined in Project 2025, vaguely, the initiative itself is not specifically associated with him or driven by his leadership. Instead, represents a broader effort by conservative groups to influence the direction of future Republican administrations, regardless of who the eventual candidate or president might be. Now, if you guys remembered from Trump's last term, one of the things you probably liked about him was he is not a controllable candidate. He has his own agenda. Now, what is Agenda 47? In summary, now, if you go to Trump's website, this is on Trump's website, and this is what Trump stands behind. So while all you betas out there, all you lost members of the LGBT community crying wolf like you always fucking do, let's go over some things here. So Agenda 47 is a set of policy proposals and priorities outlined by Donald Trump for a potential return to the presidency in 2024. The agenda reflects his vision for the future of the United States and includes various initiatives aimed at addressing key issues. Now, here is a summary of some of those main points. The economy. It intends to revitalize American manufacturing and bring back jobs to the U.S. It reduces taxes and regulations to stimulate economic growth. Strengthen trade policy to ensure fair deals for the American workers. If you remember correctly, when Trump was president, yeah, we cut taxes. Because of the policies he enacted, we almost had gas to $1. And we didn't have 200%, 400% inflation and then have it crawl to a 5%. No, we had, I think, maximum anywhere between 3 and 4% inflation. About the normal, how it does anyways, with how the economy goes, right? I remember. You remember? I remember. So, and again, normal everyday Americans had more money in their pockets. In fact, your grandparents' retirement accounts also saw a big boom under Trump, which has been reduced. And some people I know, they've lost nearly $50,000 in their 401k just because of Biden's policies. Now, bulletin point number 2 in the Agenda 47 is continue building the border wall and enhance border security, implement stricter immigration enforcement and policies to reduce illegal immigration, reform on asylum process to prevent abuse. Now, one thing here I want to visit, right? Now, what was Trump's policies on the border back in his first term? Obviously his administration implemented a range of policies aimed at reducing illegal immigration. Some of the key aspects back in his first term, one of the most publicized efforts was the construction of the border wall along Mexico. By the end of his term, approximately 450 miles of the wall had been constructed or reinforced, right? The asylum policies, So we had policies that restrict asylum applications, such as the Migrant Protection Protocols, which required asylum seekers to remain in Mexico while their claims were processed. This led to a significant decrease in asylum applications and apprehensions at the border. Increased Border Patrol and ICE funding. You increased funding for U.S. Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which was ICE, leading to more personnel resources dedicated to border security and interior enforcement. This did contribute to a higher number of arrests and deportations of undocumented immigrants. Travel bans and visa restrictions. Trump enacted travel bans on several countries and imposed new restrictions on various visa programs. These measures aimed to tighten entry into the U.S., but were controversial and faced numerous legal challenges. The public charge rule. This rule made it more difficult for immigrants to obtain legal residency if they were determined likely to require public assistance. Meaning, we can't let people keep pouring over here if they're just going to cost us a lot of money because they don't know what they're doing and they need too much help, right? They don't come with the skill set. They literally just will rely off of welfare. So the policy aimed to discourage immigration from individuals who might rely on public benefits. So, we'll get to Biden in a moment. And then the COVID-19 measures. During the pandemic, the Trump administration used public health concerns to justify rapid expulsion of migrants under Title 42, leading to a significant decrease in illegal border crossings. Another thing that I want to touch on here. The Trump administration implemented a pilot program in 2019 involved DNA testing at the U.S.-Mexico border to confirm the parental relationship between adults and the children they traveled with. Oh my, I wonder why you would do that. The primary goal of this program was to combat child trafficking, to ensure that children were not being exploited or falsely claimed by adults who are not their actual parents or legal guardians. For those of you who don't know, we have a huge child trafficking issue now. It's quite sickening, to be honest. Here are some of the key points about the DNA testing program. Purpose: the DNA test aimed to verify familial relationships to identify cases where children were being trafficked or used by adults to gain easier entry into the U.S. The initial pilot program was conducted in select locations at the border. It involved rapid DNA testing, which provided results within about 90 minutes. So it's not like they were waiting around for days or weeks or anything. No, this was a pretty, you're with that kid, all right, we got to make sure that kid is yours. Because right now, there is a huge crisis of child trafficking in this country, and everybody's ears should be alert to this. Now, the tests were voluntary, but if adults refuse to participate, it can be used as a factor in determining whether to separate them from the children. The program was part of border effort to crack down on fraudulent crimes and enhance security. Now, obviously, criticism, blah, 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 we can kind of tell what other side has been against this, right? So going back to Agenda 47. The third bullet point for Agenda 47 is healthcare. It is to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act with a more market-based system, reduce prescription drug prices, improve access to affordable healthcare. I don't see anything wrong with that. Foreign policy. Pursue an American-first foreign policy that prioritizes national interest. No problem there. Strengthen military capabilities and support veterans. Promote fair trade agreements and hold other countries accountable. Sounds about right. Education. Promote school choice, expand charter schools, reduce federal involvement in education, and return control to states and local communities. I know a lot of parents right now that aren't happy about how their kids are being educated, and they are literally powerless to change it. Unless they want to take them out of public school and homeschool them, but then you have the whole I gotta work thing, so what are we going to do? The sixth bulletin point of Agenda 47 is law and order. Support law enforcement and increase funding for the police departments, which is greatly needed right now. Defund the police was the stupidest fucking thing we did. Implement measures to reduce crime and enhance public safety. Reform the criminal justice system to ensure fairness and justice. Don't know how you can be against all that. Number 7, energy. Increase domestic energy production and reduce reliance on foreign energy resources or energy sources. Promote the use of fossil fuels while investing in renewable energy technologies. So it's like we're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot while we develop better ways, because right now, if you were to stop fossil fuel and rely on all these energy cars, you would overload the grid, and then we all have no power. Then what, you dumb fucks? Last bullet point on that for energy is a rollback regulations that hinder energy development. Okay? Now, number 8, the government reform. And I'm all for this. I'm anti-establishment, right? Drain the swamp by reducing corruption and inefficiency in government. There's way too much money being wasted right now on bullshit that doesn't matter or help society. Implement term limits for members of Congress. Bingo! Right fucking there. That's a big reason why they're telling you about Project 2025 and trying to get you away from actually reading about Trump's agenda, Agenda 47. Term limits for Congress should have came decades ago. Half the reason why we're in the problem we are right now, because other countries have compromised our Congress because they know they can be in there for however long. That's why you got AIPAC supporting whoever the fuck they want, so they can make sure they get their fucking piggy bank year after year. Reform the bureaucracy to make it more accountable and responsive. I'm not seeing the reason for an outcry here. Last bullet point is national security. Strengthen national defense and counter terrorism efforts. Okay? Secure the nation's infrastructure against cyber and physical threats. And if you haven't noticed this year, we've actually been suffering from a lot of cyber attacks from different nations, hitting different things, different companies, and enhance intelligent capabilities to address emerging threats. People, that's what Trump actually stands behind. That's very pro-America. There's nothing extreme about it, okay? Nothing in there about attacking the LGBT community. Nothing in there about deporting people that are here legally, right? Okay? We all on the same page about that. Now, back to the border crisis. So, when Trump was in charge of the border, we didn't have, soft estimate as 9 million illegals. I've heard over 15 million, possibly up to 20 million illegals have poured into this country. And they've been bussed to areas where the Democrats need a lot of support right now. Okay? So let's take a look at what Joe Biden did with his administration when he came into office regarding the border. So there was a reversal of the migrant protection protocol. So Biden suspended the MPP, also known as the Remain in Mexico policy, which required asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their cases were processed in the U.S. So this change allowed many asylum seekers to enter the U.S. while their claims were adjudicated, leading to an increase in asylum applications. Gee, I wonder why. They halted the construction of the border wall and redirected the funds for other purposes. The changes in asylum procedures. The Biden administration aimed to make the asylum process more humane and efficient. This included rescinding several Trump-era policies that had restricted asylum eligibility and creating new guidelines to speed up the process of asylum claims. The termination of the public charge rule. Biden reversed the Trump administration's public charge rule, which made it more difficult for immigrants to obtain legal residency if they were deemed likely to require public assistance. So while we have a homeless epidemic in this country, while veterans are sleeping on the street and can't get medical care, we're letting people come in and taking care of them instead of the people that help contribute to society, have families here in this society, and desperately need help. Efforts to reunite separated families. The administration established a task force to reunite families that have been separated under the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy, which led to thousands of children being separated from their parents at the border. Now, people, this is actually bullshit. Obama was responsible for separating more children from their families than any other president at the border, okay? And again, Trump, I went over this earlier, Trump did this mainly if they couldn't prove that the child was related to the parent in order to cut down on child trafficking. People, Trump was like one of the first presidents that really put a good effort into cracking down on pedophilia. Sincerely. Revised enforcement priorities under Biden. Biden administration revised ICE's enforcement priorities to focus on national security, public safety, and border security threats rather than broadly targeting all undocumented immigrants for removal. So the shift resulted in fewer arrests, even though we've had over even if it is only 9 million people, we've had over 9 million illegals pour into this country that aren't even being tracked. So under Biden, there's been fewer arrests and deportations of non-criminal undocumented immigrants. They're not even shipping out the illegal immigrants that come here and commit crimes right now. Think about that. So, you know, earlier when I told you that the Trump administration had started doing DNA testing for all this good jazz, so guess what happened when Biden got in? The Biden administration discontinued the DNA testing program that had been used under the Trump administration to verify familial relations at the U.S.-Mexico border. The Biden administration shifted its approach to focus on more humane treatment of migrants and addressing the root cause of migration. Tisk, 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 tisk. So, I'm going to look up something for you. And this is more important for y'all to understand and know than Project 2025. It's called the SAVE Act. Yep, SAVE. S-A-V-E. Okay? Now, what is the SAVE Act? The SAVE Act stands for Secure America Through Verification and Enforcement Act. It is a proposed piece of legislation aimed at addressing illegal immigration in the United States. The main objective of the SAVE Act includes enhancing border security, improving interior enforcement, and increasing the use of employment verification systems to prevent illegal employment. So some key components of this. Border security obviously increases the number of border agents, enhance physical barriers, improve surveillance and monitoring capabilities to prevent illegal crossings. The point I want to get here. So, the SAVE Act also helps in preventing undocumented people from registering to vote in this country, right? The Biden administration just recently came out against the SAVE Act. You really have to ask yourselves why a sitting president would be against illegals and undocumented workers not being able to vote in this country. If you've been paying attention, the Biden administration is a disaster. It's a mess. It has absolutely zero chances of winning come this November. In fact, there's stories coming out in Georgia, some other places, that the Dominion voting machines were frauded. There's a woman on trial right now that's just has been caught and is facing court for ballot stuffing. The way the mail-in ballots were done, there's actually almost no way to verify if fraud takes place. Elon Musk tweeted out the other day that this is a huge concern, and it is very odd that we're not focusing on possible way to right this wrong. You know, almost anything else in this country that could be a victim to fraud, it seems like we have several things in place to address those issues. But when it comes to voting, not so much. Not so much. So yeah, you know, right now in this country, you know, since 1999, I call it the pussification of America. You know, the Supreme Court just ruled that the charges of insurrection placed on most of the January 6th people was not the correct use of the law involving that. And some of those charges are going to get reduced to trespassing. So thankfully, some of our fellow Americans will have hopefully reduced sentences from that time and period. But as I was saying, you know, since 1999, I call it the pussification of America, right? And bless their hearts, you know, the LGBT community makes up less than 5% of the current population. And like I was talking with Ty, it really seems that the media and even the government are doing the best they can to try to push anybody and everybody into that group, because they know that group votes a certain way 99% of the time. And not only that, because this minority group, for no damn reason, is being propped up over the needs of majority of society, I'm finding that even once strong men are suppressing their own voices in this country because they are afraid of cancel culture. I was at a conference this past weekend, and I had several men come up to me who were well-to-do entrepreneurs doing well in this country. And I was wearing this attire, this gear. My shirt says "Fuck Joe Biden" on it. I'm wearing a Trump hat, Trump 24, and it has his hair on the top. I pull it off. You would think it's my hair because of the beard that I have, and it's popping out of the top, but nope. Still got my black hair. But I was dressed outrageously, and these men come up to me, and even staff from the event, they say, like, God, they want to be boisterous too, but they're just afraid if they were to express their opinions or feelings towards everything, that either the alphabet mafia would come after them, or they possibly could lose their job. This alphabet mafia wants to yell racism, sexism, hate speech, blah, blah, blah. I really have to say, after an observation of this community for nearly 2 decades, the people that lack tolerance is the alphabet mafia. They completely lack tolerance. You can't have an opposing opinion without them saying that you're attempting to eradicate them, right? They say you're trying to attack them just for having a difference of opinion, or even attempting to give them information that might be crucial to even help their own future. Right? So, like I said, the Biden administration is falling apart. There's a lot of talk that Joe's going to drop out of the race, but senile Joe keeps trying to assure us publicly that he's not going anywhere. A lot of us speculate that Jill Biden just doesn't want to give up her seat in the White House because Joe's obviously not leading anything. And then it kind of leads you to wonder, like, how is Kamala Harris taking all this? The polls are showing that there's not a snowball chance in hell that Biden can beat Trump. And for the first time ever, Harris is polling ahead of Joe as a candidate that potentially could beat Trump. So there's a way this can happen, and I don't know if the establishment and the DNC are colluding to put together a plan to make this transition something that doesn't knock down their popularity even more, right? They don't want to seem feathered by all this and unstable and indecisive that could lose them more voters that they think they desperately need. So in our Constitution, there's this thing called the 25th Amendment, ratified in 1967, and deals with presidential succession and disability. It clarifies the procedures for replacing the president or vice president in case of death, removal, resignation, or incapacitation. Why do I keep having a problem with that word? Incapacitation. Nope, that's not it either. Incapacitation. I don't know why that was so hard for me. It won't be in the future. Anyways, the amendment has 4 sections. Now, only section 4 really applies. Actually, no. Section 3 and 4 apply. either one or two things could happen. Biden steps down peacefully, or Kamala gets so fucking pissed off she attempts to overtake him. Section 3 allows the president to temporarily transfer power to the vice president by declaring in writing their inability to perform presidential duties. The vice president serves as acting president until the president declares they are able to resume their duties. Now, I say Section 4 because, you know, it's not like Biden's going to get better from old age as he ages. So they need to get him out of there, and they need to have a replacement candidate here to run against Trump because he is just running away with it. So Section 4 allows the vice president and a majority of the principal officers of the executive departments or other body that Congress may provide by law to declare the president unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office. The vice president then becomes acting president. If the president disputes this declaration, Congress must decide the issue. A 2/3 vote in both houses is required to confirm the president's inability to serve. Right? Now, a lot of people are going to say that there's no way, there's not a chance in hell that Kamala would be able to get 2/3 votes because simply, you know, the House isn't made up of all Democrats. So to get 2/3 votes is almost virtually impossible unless we have some sellout Republicans that want to help the Democratic Party stay in power. Then again, that really wouldn't make much sense, would it? I don't think so. So yeah, it's been crazy. You know, anybody that watched the debate, you want to call it a debate, if you didn't understand how bad Joe Biden was before, you certainly understood it by the time that debate was over. I myself, I think I had to tune out with an hour left. I had to go to bed that night. I wake up early in the morning around 4:30. So, but I woke up having missed probably the best spectacular car wreck of an ending that ever could have happened when Joe Biden ended his statement with, "We beat Medicare." When talking about healthcare and stuff like that. And then Trump replied with, "Yeah, you beat Medicare. You practically beat it to death." People, you need to wake up. Gas prices are still over $3.50. If they were $1.50 under Trump, they're still up more than double. Food prices are almost quadruple. Your money for retirement has drastically reduced. We're talking about another possible pandemic that all the Democratic areas, states, wanted to mandate vaccines, wanted to mandate lockdowns, wanted to mandate mask usage. It was only your Republican areas that did anything to stop it. So, you know, I don't think Trump this time around is going to trust the lying Anthony Fauci. If anybody paid attention to that court procedure done by the questioning to Anthony Fauci, this guy's been a bad actor since the 80s. This guy's one of the most narcissistic, homicidal, diabolical geniuses, if you want to call him a genius, that this country has seen in a very long time. You know, he reveled in the chaos that he caused this country during that pandemic, and that misuse of government power and misuse of how to direct the chief of staff, you know, Trump was doing the best he could from his top advisors. You know, who would have thought that the people with the most expertise would be the most evil liars in this country, right? So again, everybody, like I said, don't fall for the propaganda. Okay? Don't be one of the sheep. One of the things about the 90s you got to remember is we were warned about mass conforming. Everybody that went through the 90s, like, you knew goddamn well that being a conformist was one of the worst things you could do. Remember, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. It's not fuck you, do what they tell you. That's China. That's communism. The United States Constitution has lasted for over 200 years. That's longer than any other constitution in the history of mankind. It was beautifully written and written in such a way that we can add things that make sense. But right now, this administration is trying to hijack the Constitution and lead you into an area that is against your better interest. That's going to be all my time for today. Remember, you can follow me on various platforms. Instagram is the First Amendment Podcast. TikTok is First Amendment Pod. You can find me on YouTube on First Amendment Podcast. Again, I'm Christopher Ash, formerly known as Jackson Wheeler, host of your My First Amendment Rights podcast. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.
False manliness is unfeeling, with no kindly sympathies, rude and rough and overbearing. True manliness is temperate, it is moderate.